Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. we provide you information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, training skills, technical programs, skill trade professions, employment opportunities, career readiness skills, career exploration, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Toni Curtin, your host, and today we will be speaking with Walsh College. We will be talking about the wonderful programs and opportunities that they have. Welcome, Scott. We are so glad to have you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, it's kind of funny. I have to admit, I was taking. I'll talk about the school because that's the easy part. But I was taking a different route this time, and
Okay.
so the route I was going to talk about was mostly business thinking for professionals. And so I'll go through. It's about 15 slides. Let me make sure. Hold on, let me make sure. 'Cause okay, no, it's. I'm sorry, I forgot this one. This one is 25 slides, but I'll go through it so quickly that it will not phase anyone, and I think it'll be great. And then I can talk a little bit about what it takes to get to a school like Walsh and how we're set up and what we do. But it's a slide called Business Thinking 101, or I should say, it's a presentation for Business Thinking 101. And what it's meant to do is to help people become more acclimated to what they need to do to understand what they want from themselves while pursuing a profession. So it's something that can apply to anybody in any situation. I'll talk about that. I'll go through it rather quickly. You can ask questions as I'm going through the slide, but it's meant to help you to begin to think about, what do I want for my career and how am I going to go about getting it? And then we're going to talk about Walsh College and what we do. But what I'm teaching today is something that we teach at Walsh, and it's something that I've learned, and it's something that I think they're gonna like and enjoy and get something truly valuable out of it. And then we'll go from there. And if they have questions about anything else, we can go from there, and hopefully it'll be a benefit to them.
Good deal. Good deal,
Okay.
Scott.
Okay. Great. All right. So now, I real quick, I just want to get an idea. So I have Olivia, Amy, Rosanna, Zanaib, or Zanaib. If you can post that phonetically, that'd be great. And then you have Deanna or Dina. And what I'm looking for is just a little bit of what you're looking to do, either when you grow up or when you're done with the program. And then we can go from there to see what we can do to have a great conversation about helping you out with that. And you can put that
Actually,
in the chat.
Scott, all of these that are on the call right now, they are staffers,
Their staff.
professionals. Yes.
Perfect. That's okay. That's perfect. All right. So then I'll talk about what we teach at the school, and then I'll talk about the school, and we'll go from there. How about that?
Good deal.
Perfect. Okay, great. I was looking at them like, okay, they might be students. I'm just gonna go with the safe side and assume that they are. But I'm glad that you were able to let me know about that. So let me go ahead and go from here, and then do the share the screen. All right. So can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so here we go. So my name is Scott Wyckoff. I work for Walsh College. I am an academic advisor and recruiter for the school. And what my goal is to help students find and figure their way out through our degree programs. And so we offer programs in business. We're nothing but a business school. So we offer accounting, finance, marketing, management, information technology. We also offer taxation, but that's at the graduate level. And then a couple other programs that we have at the graduate level are data analytics, information technology leadership, the MBA program, and then we offer programs that relate to management, finance again at the graduate level, and then marketing at the graduate level as well. And so we try to make it so that students who are looking to come to Walsh come there with the idea of trying to figure out, what they want to be or what career they want to be in, and we use our degree programs to help them capture that idea and then move forward with it. Are there any questions at all that anyone may have as I go through? don't see anything coming through the chat, so I will go ahead and get started. So Louis Spagnulio is a guy that had a really great quote that I thought said it all. It says, it takes a lot of little steps. The big myth is that is the thought that the giant steps actually exist. And when you really think about what you're looking to do, it's about getting started and then figuring out what's the best way to get started, and then starting and then measuring and trying to figure out where you are at almost any given time. Now, I know some people aren't really good at that and they do things in their own little way, 'cause I'm more of a big picture kind of a person. Some of you may be very detailed oriented, or some of you may have that skill. But for me, I need to figure out what the big picture is, and then I can get into those smaller steps and things that relate to moving towards the goals. So I always like to start all of these with a case. And so in this situation, I have a case that involves an IT professional, for example. So let's say like one of your students is they're in the IT field, for example, and they're looking to make that transition. Well, what do they need to do in order to make that happen? The thing that I tell them to do is they pretty much need to do an introspection and figure out where it is that you like to go, where are you right now, and how do you take what you know right now and move into a new direction in terms of where you want to go and how you want to be there. Now, you think of this as something more like, as it's not quite high school level, but the reason why I start here is I want them to have the mindset of, imagine that you're working in this field and you're doing something that you're looking to transition into. Or imagine if you're in that field and you want to move a little further, a little higher up into that same role, what do you need to do? So what I try to get the students to understand, that every organization out there is trying to create a business, and your role is to understand what that means in the best way possible. So when you look at every organization, their primary things are going to be three things that they're all going to try to do. They're going to try to generate revenue, they're going to try to control and minimize their costs, and they're going to try to maximize the assets. Being strategic, earning a profit, having an IT strategy are things that are just indicative of what a business is looking to accomplish. And so the goal pretty much is to try to make it so that you understand, what your role is in that organization and how you want to begin to play a role that's central to you building a career or helping a business grow or helping the business do some things that relate to running the day-to-day, doing operations and things that relate to that. Now, the one thing I always tell students to concern and make sure that they're aware of, they need to pretty much maneuver amongst three different things: education, experience, and network. And based on that kind of relationship, it allows you to deliver results, solve problems, and do things a little differently than anybody else. The goal is to figure out, what people's problems are, how you can be the one to solve those problems. And in my opinion, and based on things that I've read and studied, it seems that people who are able to do that are never without an opportunity to create employment for themselves. So with that, once you've learned and gotten an idea about how that works, you want to build a system for yourself, and you want to be able to have that capacity to, map out the job, or as in this situation is, map out your value. So that goes back to being able to solve a problem. How do you do it? Why do you do it? And what is the reason that someone should hire you to do it? Or what reasons should somebody do business with you to do those things? And so it's important to get a better idea of creating a system and understanding how that system works. When you think about McDonald's, for example, yes, they have a ton of turnover within their organization, but at the same time, they are able to stay in business despite what goes on. And the reason why that happens is because they have systems in place to help that occur. Does anybody have any questions at all? All right. So with that, this is something that we use as well. And we tell students to begin to structure their thinking. And the reason why you do that is because it allows you to take a problem that you have and you begin to look at it a little differently when you're able to break it down. So when you see here, it says problem you're solving. You want to kind of put that into a sentence, understand why you're trying to solve that particular problem. And your goal is to not have to go and look in different directions in terms of trying to solve that problem. You want to be able to have, you don't want anything what they call scope creep. You want to be able to look at that problem, know what it is, know why it exists, and then begin that whole process of finding out what the problem is, finding out what the reasons are, and then doing analysis on it. And we call this process me-see thinking, or mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. And then as you see, as we're breaking this down, we're going to get to a point where you're going to see why we care about business thinking in the context that we do, because it all relates to essentially what we call SWOT analysis and TAOS analysis. And all of this is going to lead up to that. I always tell students as well, you need to do something that I call swim in. So what it means is that you want to be able to sell yourself or your idea within either 8 seconds, and then have 30 seconds to be able to convey that idea to somebody. So your first sentence should be the attention grabber, and then the rest of what you talk about to get their attention is what they're going to care a lot about. And the way you do that is you begin to understand what's in it for them to listen to you about what's going on. You want to be able to take your idea and generate as many plausible possibilities with it, so it gives you an opportunity again to help that organization do what they're looking to do, try to find different ways for them to be able to do it. But also you want to let them know that in doing that, this is your brand, this is who you are, and these are the things that matter the most. You want to learn to negotiate. You want to know who you need to compromise with, how you leverage that relationship in the best way possible. And then when you're networking with all of these people to get this problem solved, or to do the things that relate to the kind of work that you're doing, you want to know, who do I need to know? Again, how can you gain leverage with them, and how do you begin to make it so that there are activities that can occur so that the bottom line of what you're trying to accomplish can happen. And then for what's really important, though, is just being able to understand, where and how you create the value that you create. So I talked previously about mapping your value. Well, when you look back at what you're looking to do, this is something I call a task analysis. And it's something that I got from ONET Online. If you're familiar with the Bureau of Labor Statistics and their occupational outlook handbook, they have a connection to ONET Online. And what ONET allows you to do is it helps you to think about all the abilities, the tools, the skills, the knowledge that goes into helping you to create your value proposition, so you can let them know that you're going to help solve these problems, build these processes, create these products or services that you can bring to the table in a way that's going to be valuable for the organization, or even for your own business if you decide to do that. This is something else that goes into what we call pestle analysis. Now, the task analysis and the pestle analysis are going to go into something that's going to be the SWOT analysis and the TAOS analysis. And so you're going to see these end up getting used, and I'm going to show you how this all works in a bigger framework and a bigger story, and then it gives you a better idea about how to make a connection with how you create value, why it's important to understand how you create that value, and what's important. So a pestle analysis is an extension of what they used to call the PEST analysis. And PEST, obviously it says it right there, it's political, economic, social, technology, legislative, environmental. Your goal is just to be able to use this as a tool to help you to be able to know what's going on in the world that's outside of what you know. The task analysis deals with what's going on with you and who you are, it's internal, but the pestle analysis is what's going on in my environment, and how do I begin to engage it in a way that I can have success. And if I do have any failures, I know how to learn from them, bounce back, and continue on with what my goals are. Okay? Any questions at all? All right. So this is something that we use. It's a 2x2 matrix. And what it does, it gives you an opportunity to create all types of different scenarios. And you're going to see it used through this presentation. But what we're going to use it for currently is going to be for the SWOT analysis. And what that does, it gives you a very, like I said, simple, powerful, effective, a way of being able to look at yourself and understand what you're capable of doing, and show what goes into doing some of the things that you're trying to accomplish. Because everybody's trying to do something. They're all trying to do something in their own way. I'm sure that there are a lot of students who want to go off to become carpenters, and there are students who also want to go off to become engineers. And some students want to start a salon. Some students want to be a plumber, or they may even want to go into business. Regardless of what's going on, you're going to see this box put to use in a way that is very valuable and helps them to begin to think about what it means to do a career pursuit that they can find fulfilling, and allows them to use skills and abilities and tasks that get into the whole thing, scheme of things. So this is the SWOT template, and as you can see, it's broken down into the 4 boxes that we mentioned before. You'll see at the top it says competitive advantage, and then the other says improve competitive advantage, and that deals with the strengths and opportunities for the competitive advantage, and then the other deals with improve your competitive advantage with the weaknesses and threats. And so I never look at anybody and think that their weakness is a true weakness. Usually those weaknesses I have people put into this are weaknesses that relate to ones that they know that they can improve. You don't put very strong weaknesses. If you're like horrible at doing coding, for example, don't put this in there. But if you do know that you have an ability to improve it, then put it in there, because it gives you an opportunity to look at it from that perspective. Now, when you go back to the person that we started out with earlier, where they were looking to do a career change from doing IT maintenance to wanting to do cybersecurity, they're going to put their information about what they know about themselves into it. And as you notice, internal is in the first row there, and then external is in the next row that talks about opportunities and threats. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put in the strengths and the weaknesses the task analysis that you do on yourself. And then in the opportunities and threats, we're going to put the pestle analysis that you would do on the external environment to get a better idea about what's going on, not only obviously with yourself, but also with the environment around you. So now you can see that this is something that has been inputted for you to be able to look at. And so as you can see, that person's strengths are critical thinking, systems analysis, systems evaluation, analytical thinking, and software performance. But also her weaknesses are complex problem solving, quality control analysis, investigative nature, which is needed for cybersecurity, thinking creatively. Another thing that's needed for cybersecurity, because the people that want to steal information think so creatively about doing it that they will find a way to be able to do it. But you also got to find a way to keep them from being able to do it. And also selective attention. So that means that the person has a very short attention span. And so that those are some things that they're not strong weaknesses, they're weaknesses that can be turned into strengths. And then if you look at the external components that relate to the opportunities and threats, you'll see that the demand for IT cybersecurity professionals is on the rise. There are always going to be rogue actors, entities, and hostile governments that are going to try to steal people's information. Companies that lack cybersecurity protocols are always going to be out there. And also the growth rate for that field is currently 15.8%. So that means that for as a field or as a industry, the cybersecurity industry earns $24 billion, for example, and I think it was like in 2019. So that means that this year you take that's 24 billion, you add 10% to that, and that takes it up to probably closer to like 25 billion, 26 billion, maybe even more than that. And that lets you know that the demand for those services, the demand for the people that offer those services is going to be relatively high. Now with the threats, what you deal with is mostly policy changes that limit technology and innovation, regulatory bodies abusing power due to lobbyists, lack of understanding of cybersecurity threats by companies, governments, and nonprofits, and unaware of cybersecurity standards. And so that deals with, for example, something called NIST. NIST stands for the National Institute for Standards and Technology. And what that deals with is trying to help people understand why we set up the frameworks we do in order for you to be able to save your company from any of the attacks, or governments or nonprofits from any of the attacks that go on, and what you should be doing to make sure that that's limited. Now, what we're going to see next, we're going to see a TALS template, and that TALS template is going to be something that's going to let you know how this all works. And really what is going to happen is it's going to take those strengths and those opportunities and add them together. It's going to take those strengths and threats and add them together. It's going to take those weaknesses and opportunities and add them together. It's going to take those weaknesses and threats and add them together. So this is what that template looks like for TALS. And so as you can see, there are strategies that go along with all of this. All right. And so there are offensive strategies when you use the strengths and opportunities. There are conversion strategies for weaknesses and opportunities. There's strengths, there are utilization strategies for strengths and threats, and then there's weaknesses and threats for there are defensive strategies for weaknesses and threats. Now we're going to see this completely filled out, and then you're going to see what I was discussing a moment ago. So now, as you can see in the first one, offensive strategies, we took S4, which is analytical thinking, and added it to O2, opportunities, item number 2, and opportunities, item number 5. So when you look at this, you create a sentence with it. So my goal is to begin to think about building up analytical thinking or using analytical thinking to help organizations fight rogue actors, and also to understand how I can take advantage of the growth opportunities that are within the industry for which I'm looking to build a career. And that's kind of how you would look at it. That's just a simple way of kind of helping you build and think about what that means to use this TALS analysis. So all TALS is just SWOT backwards, obviously, and it deals with obviously, understanding, how these threats and these opportunities interact with the weaknesses and the strengths. But if you go over to let's go with a more the worst scenario in this situation, which is weaknesses and threats. How do you take something like that and turn it into a potential opportunity that you can use for your organization? So you see that the person in that avatar that we mentioned earlier, she realizes that she is not investigative by nature. That's just not her strength. And at the same time, she's unaware of updated cybersecurity. That's one of the threats out there. But I'm sorry, the industry is unaware of the importance of knowing what cybersecurity threats are. So in her mind, what she's trying to do is begin to build up what her ability to be investigative by nature or in her nature, and then trying to find a way to create an opportunity so that she can help an organization do some of the things that she knows she's weak at, and also is aware of at the same time how she can help them do those things. And so it gives her a different kind of a goal versus working strictly from a strength. She works from a position of weakness, knowing that she can help an organization do some of the things that go into making them aware about what's going on in the cybersecurity world. And the goal is to make a student, or to help a student, become self-aware of who they are in the world of business, or in the world of IT, or in the world of anything that they decide that they want to put themselves into to build and create a career for themselves. And that's what we try to teach as a program, and as a concept, as an ideal, as a framework at Walsh College. So what does it mean? So earlier, we talked about mapping your value. Well, in order for you to begin to really take that SWOT analysis and that TALS analysis and use it, you want to be able to understand what a company does and how it earns its revenue, and how it deals with its costs, and how it maximizes the return that it earns on the invested capital that it puts into place, either operationally or through some other means. So what we look at is the organization. And when I talk to students, I always tell them, be able to break down what your company does, because they're all trying to pursue a customer. They're all trying to make sure that customer has a good experience, at least you hope they are. But you also understand that they're also trying to either meet a budget, they're trying to create a surplus, and they're also trying to create a profit for themselves. So you want to be able to think about what they do, how they do what they do, and then how to break down each of these things. And this goes into trying to help them understand that the company where you work, your job is more than just a job. It affects something positively in some way, shape, or form, which is why they have it. They budgeted for that job, and they want you to come in and do that work in the best way possible. And on the other hand, if you decide to run a business, it allows you the same thing to look at it from that perspective. What is this company trying to accomplish? What problem do they need to have solved? And how can I help them be able to do it? And I don't care what it is that you're doing, there's always that kind of a scenario that goes on with that. Any questions at all? Okay, thank you. The next part comes back to mapping your value now. So we went back and we talked about how you draw a process or a system for the kind of work that you're doing. But now you want to begin to think about it from the perspective of, where do you really meet? Where do you really create the value that you're talking about? So we know that when you're working for an organization, their goal is to create a customer, The goals are trying to earn a profit or a surplus or something like that. But also they're trying to do something that involves generating that revenue, controlling those costs, and being able to maximize some of the returns that they're looking to create. And so what that means is that they're trying to create activities that allow them to remain an ongoing organization. And you want to be able to find out where you fit. And most of the time, depending on the kind of work that you do, you'll fit into like one or two of these. So most of the time you'll fit into generating revenue and maximizing return on the invested capital or the invested monies that they put. The other part deals with something that goes along the lines of you're dealing with controlling the costs and you're trying to help them maximize that value as well. But in this situation, this person is trying to figure out, where do they fit and how do they fit and what's the best way for them to begin to fit. And so it's our goal is to help them understand that in the best way possible. And so when you talk about that, we usually drive students to our career services. They don't get this detailed in it, but the overall educational environment at Walsh is meant to help a student understand their role in business and why they're there and what their intent is to do. Now, again, we talked about the problem solving approach. And what I want you to understand is that it's more than just a typical situation. It's a cycle that you get into. And I just wanted to reiterate it again here. I usually always bring people back to this because I want them to kind of remember what their goal is within an organization. And that's to define that problem, formulate a hypothesis, test a hypothesis, figure out some way to introduce change, and then evaluate the results that you come up with as a result. And so it's important for you to know that you are always trying to solve a problem or trying to, and more importantly, identify an opportunity as well. And your goal is to make sure that you figure out how you fit, you network, you talk with people, you get conversations going, you get ideas flowing, and begin to use some of the tools that we offer as a school to help you do that. And this is one of those tools that we always talk to people about. So let's go back over some of the things we talked about. So we now understand what a SWOT analysis is. You understand what a TOWS analysis is. This is just kind of breaking it down back to who you are, what your goals are, and what you're trying to do. It's trying to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are that can become strengths or that can be used to complement your strengths, and do it in a way that helps you to identify opportunities and resist the threats or flow with those threats and create opportunities with those as well. Now, this is another part. This is a little different situation, but with students, now this is something that relates more to what I'd say is a better way for students to begin to think about where they are. So if you see here, now then this is what makes this 2x2 matrix so powerful. But the thing is that this matrix is something I got from a guy by the name of Simon Middleton. He got it from another guy by the name of I think it was something. Goodness, his last name was Weiss. But what he did was he created this matrix where it talks about your weak career strategy and the weak career goals, strong career strategy, strong career goals. Most people fit between, the other two, weak career strategy with strong career goals or a strong career strategy with weak career goals. And what that means with the weak career strategy in this situation is that you don't know where you're going, but you're extremely talented and you haven't quite figured out where you want to go. And with the strong career strategy and weak career goals, you know where you want to go, but you're not sure why you should go in a direction that could be beneficial for you. Anybody that's in weak career strategy and career goals needs to sit down and reassess themselves. People who have strong career strategies and strong career goals, know where they want to go, doing what they want to do, and have found fulfillment at the same time in doing that kind of work. And so, or running that kind of a business. And so those are some of the things I talk to students. The next part that's going to be very interesting is that part talks about business, and that's really intriguing, but it's something that you want to look at regardless if you are working someplace or if you're running your own organization. It's a way just to have a conversation, or at least to start a conversation about anything that's going on. So as you see here, it deals with weak strategy and weak operations, strong strategy and strong operations. Do you work for an organization that has that? Or do they have a weak strategy and strong operations, strong strategy and weak operations. So when we go over this again, a weak strategy means that they don't know what they're doing and why they're even in business, but they have solid people in place that can help that organization remain around for a while because they know what they're doing and they know how to earn money. And then the other is where they have strong strategy, they know what they want to do, but they're not doing too well on the operational side, even though it keeps them in business because they are really good at it. But the problem is they might be so located in the marketplace where they're great at what they do, but they're not sure how to really get that next level. They may not be very profitable, or they continue to break even, and so they're trying to figure out how they get to the situation where they have strong strategy and strong operations. Now, if you're in an organization that's got a weak strategy and weak operations, well, you need to assess what's going on there, because you really don't know what they're doing. It could be management, it could be the market, it could be both, it could be finances, it could be anything. But you want to be able to ask the questions. Why are you doing what you're doing? Where does this company want to go? How do you plan to get there? Some places you got to ask that question carefully. Some places you can ask that question, they'll be honest about it, but it's just a way for you to begin to think about building a career and doing things to help you look at a different way of doing it. I always like those quotes, but this one by Peter Drucker says it all. Unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. All right. So with all these organizations, they all are trying to do something, but I think it's important for everybody, regardless of what they do, to know and understand that your company has a balance sheet, they have an income statement, and they have a cash flow statement. So with this one, this is the balance sheet. And if you can understand how your organization is set up, it'll let you know if they're in any kind of condition to remain an ongoing concern. And if not, then it's maybe time to hit the door. The income statement, every organization out there, they do some kind of sales in some way, shape, or form. So if it's a nonprofit or an organization that receives funds from the state, or a government that's taxing people, or it's a for-profit selling widgets, or selling IT, or selling plumbing supplies, or what have you. It gives you an opportunity to know like what they're doing, how much it costs for them to do business, what they earn as a result of all of these things. Now, this relates more so to a publicly traded company when you see the earnings per share number, but almost every company has net income in common. They have some net that they're trying to arrive at where it's going to be on the positive end, unless they're required to run through their budget so that it doesn't have to do that. But that's what you want to begin to understand, that because that's highly important in my opinion, and it's something that lets you know that the company is either healthy or unhealthy. And then there's the statement of cash flows. You really want to care more about operating activities. Investing activities and financing activities deal with investing activities is what money you're putting towards trying to create the results that you want. Financing activities are trying to find ways to get the money to put towards those investing activities to do some of the things you want, so that the operating activities can show positive results. What questions do you have for me?
No questions, but I have a comment.
Yes.
The SWOT analysis, that's a very good way of analyzing any situation you may be in and are required to make some sort of decision one way or another.
Yes, exactly.
Very logical means of coming to a conclusion.
Yes.
As opposed to winging it, or
right, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and so the presentation, even though some high school students look at me like, what? It allows me to engage them in a conversation and ask the question, so how many of you really know yourselves at a level that helps an organization have an articulate conversation with you about that? Because if somebody asks you, so why should I really hire you? You have to be able to answer that question very fluidly, very simply, but in a way that lets them know that you'll come in and have an impact. And I think that that's why I began to do this. Now my avatar changes depending on who my target market is. I left it as a woman because I noticed that there are always women in these groups that I'm talking to lately, and this is like the fourth time I've had to just leave it the same because normally you can go and you can make changes and do things like that on the fly. But when I saw all the faces, I'm like, I'm not changing. I don't have to worry about it at all. But it gives you an idea that I mean, even at Walsh itself, over 50% of the students at our school are women, and so it gives me a great opportunity to talk with people about these kinds of scenarios that they encounter, and I don't really ever have to change up the case for the students because they all get what it means to go out and want to change careers, or you already have a career, or you're looking to get a career. But normally, when I'm having this presentation, it's always based on somebody asking and saying, "Well, you know what? Why didn't you change this? Why didn't you do that?" Well, the reason why I left it this way was this, and this is what we're trying to have a conversation about. Because I know you're going to get there, but then the thing is, what happens once you're there? What do you want to do? How do you want to change it? But even if you don't, even if we don't change it, I can just leave it. I can change it and make the conversation completely different. And so it's meant to really drive conversation, and it's meant to really help people get an idea about what it is that they're looking to do and how they need to become self-aware about how they go about doing it.
I like it because again, when we have students, talking about, well,
Hmm.
what do you want to do once you graduate?
Hmm.
They Many of them don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Um, Many of them will, I think, take a vocation or profession
Uh-huh.
that is popular and say, well,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yep.
And this is excellent in that it helps you understand why it is you're leaning in this direction, and
Yeah.
does it make sense for you to continue
Yeah.
to go in this direction,
Exactly. And yeah, and that a lot of that comes from just the hard part is trying to get people to sit down and really take a look at themselves. That's the biggest challenge with this
it
because
is.
because when you find out, so for example, I have a variation of this for business owners that I do, and I'll ask for a show of hands, and I'll say, okay, so how many of you, since this pandemic has occurred, are have done a SWOT analysis that now includes the pandemic in the threats or in the opportunities? And I'd say, let's say I'll have a group of, say, maybe 16 to 17 people. Three people will raise their hands that put, that's usually about average. I say 3 to 5 have put their hands up and say that they include something like this in their overall uh, SWOT analysis, if they even use one. A lot of people don't use it, and it's the simplest tool in the world to use because it just, the hard part is just knowing what to put in there. So that's when the task analysis comes in, and the pestle analysis becomes, the things that you use because it gives you a ready-made framework to input and discuss, what is going on out there, and how do I impact it, and how do I keep it from impacting me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And so when I go in, then I go into, I say, well, these are some of the things we teach at Walsh, and at the graduate level, it's something that we really get and put an emphasis on. Um, and then at the undergraduate level, it's something that you understand, you come to understand. They don't cover it as deeply, but they cover it in a level that the students are aware of it, so they at least know what's going on with this kind of tool. And so then I go and I say, well, in order to get started at Walsh, we just need to have you. If you're coming from high school, for example, you build a relationship with, and you attend a community college. We're looking for you to have 60 credit hours overall. Now that 60, we're looking for 30 of those to be liberal arts credits. That should include intermediate algebra and an English composition class. And then also, we're looking for you to have 30 credits that can relate to whatever you want. So the flexibility in our program is this. You can go to school for literally anything you want. You can go for nursing, law enforcement, information technology. You can go to school for HVAC, trade school related types of work. If it's connected to a community college and you can earn an associate's degree with it, or you can accumulate a certain level of credits, you can take all of those credits up to 82 credit hours. Actually, you might as well say up to 90 credit hours with a program that we have called the Bachelor of Science in Applied Management. And it gives you a chance to earn a business degree depending on what you're looking to do and what's most conducive for you in terms of pursuing a career. So if you have somebody that did, for example, go to school for HVAC, they can earn an associate's degree, and then they can take more credits over at the community college and bring over essentially, so the average associate's degree is about 62 credit hours. Our program allows them to bring in an additional 22 more credit hours for a total of 90, for example. And then they can end up coming over to Walsh, and all they need to complete their degree program for the Bachelor's of Science of Applied Management is 30 additional credit hours. And with 120 credit hours, they can have a bachelor's program, a bachelor's of science. So now they have the trade skills and they get the business and soft skills. And it gives them something that's a little different. And if they want to move around and move up or do something as they move around and move up in that industry or their profession that they're in, it gives them some flexibility to be able to do that. And
Good
that's what
deal.
it is. Yeah. And so, and then at the graduate level, it's a little easier with our other programs. So we have, so we have the Bachelor's of Accountancy, the Bachelor's of Business Administration in Finance, Marketing, Management, and General Business. And then we have the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. And so all of those programs, with the exception of the BSIT program, allows you to go on to do something called Fast Track. And the Fast Track program is set up to allow you to take graduate level courses in your undergraduate program. So you can not only pursue the degree program that you're interested in, but you can also pursue the master's degree. And as I mentioned earlier, we have accounting, finance, management, the general business program, or what we call the MBA, the taxation, Master of Science in Information Technology, and the Master of Science in Information Technology Leadership. And those programs have some semblance or some way for you to be able to take your undergraduate degree program and merge it into a graduate degree courses. We allow you to take 4, and then that allows you to move on to pursue a graduate level degree as you're going through. And then we just also incorporated a doctorate of management program again. So we're actually looking to build and expand on that.
Do you guys have an entrepreneurial program?
In our Master of Science in Management program, degree program, yes, we do. But it's nothing. I wish we had something that was at the undergraduate level, because I think there's a need for it more so. We have a class at the undergraduate level called Small Business Management, but I think entrepreneurial pursuits are a little different. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you're looking to build and create a market or meet a market demand. And I think those are 2 entirely different types of approaches, but are complementary to more of an entrepreneurial type set of educational requirements and skills.
And most of your undergraduate degrees can be completed within 2 years?
Yes, yep, they sure can. And then my goal is to always tell the students, the way I advise students is we tell them, so just so you understand, Walsh doesn't have the undergraduate freshman and sophomore curriculums.
Right.
We rely on the community colleges, or if you attended another school and had to drop out or quit for whatever reason, we use that as a means to help us get you started over at Walsh College. And so with that, it gives us a chance to see what you need to take over the community college, how we can pretty much guide and direct you to take the most relevant courses. And what's great about that is that some of those classes at the community college, you can earn what we call equivalency credit. And that gives you a chance to take classes over to community college for lower cost, and then transfer those courses for equivalency credit, and not have to worry about taking those classes again once you transfer over to Walsh. And you'll get what we call the equivalency credit. So provided that the course is a C or higher in the class that you took, that you're bringing over from the community college or from the other school. What was great is that the community college also allows us an opportunity to help the students. So they're coming over with a pretty solid GPA, 3.2 or higher. We can more than likely get them funding from as low as $6,000 to as high as $10,000. And the higher level, we have students who can take advantage of Phi Theta Kappa, which is an honors association at the community college. And then we also have the Community College and Scholarship Excellence Award. And what that does allows the student to have, I think the Phi Theta Kappa, I think it's every tuition is fully paid, everything's paid for. But with the Community College and Excellence Scholarship Award, it allows you to receive about $10,000 to lower your overall cost. Because the transfer over to Walsh and complete your degree is about $21,000 over that 2-year period. And so what we try to do is help students, be able to take advantage of that.
21,000 over the 2-year period?
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, I'd say roughly. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's about 514 a credit hour for a 3 credit hour class. That cost comes to about $1,542 per class. Um, and then from there you include books. I'd say books are about maybe $1,000 to $2,500. And it really all depends on whether or not you want to buy new books or if you're okay with used and ebooks and the subscriptions that we have with some of the public publishers that do business with us. And there's a $175 semester fee or student services fee that's assessed every semester, I should say. And that this allows us to do all the things that involve administering and auditing and maintaining grades in the system until you complete your degree program.
Are you guys working remotely because of the pandemic?
Yes, what you see behind me is my wall to my house being covered. So yeah, so that's pretty much how it's set up. Yes, it's going on a year. It was my last day in the office was March 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are all working from home currently. Some people make an occasional trip to the campus, but until then, we've been doing school in an online format, which is we have asynchronous, synchronous, and then we have virtual synchronous, which involves using Zoom as a way to provide a professor engaged type of environment. And it gives us a great opportunity. And then students like it. Some don't because they want to be in the classroom engaged in that particular fashion. But when I let them know that they do still get that with a professor, they're pretty happy to know that. So it's something that it makes it a little easier, but it's still been tough on us in terms of enrollment. But we're still doing extremely well overall. Wish we can be doing a lot better, but we know that a lot of it is just surrounding what's going on. But I will tell you though, when this whole thing first started, it was just COVID, COVID, COVID. Now it's like life is happening. I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or my job they still cut the benefits for tuition reimbursement. So it's all of those things that go into that.
So, what is the completion rate for students that enroll in Walsh?
60%.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, no, it's a little higher now. It's like it's closer to 70%.
Is there ability to get tutoring or one-on-one instruction if they're having difficulty?
Yes, I was going to go into that. So thank you. So what we try to do in order to help students really make it through our program, because we have some pretty tough programs. I mean, we have our IT program, our accounting program, the finance program. Those programs, they really take it to you. So we have tutoring that's set up for them. The writing that they require is pretty much set up to help them get better at communicating, at least in that kind of a format. And then we have courses that relate to doing things that help students with speeches and doing, public speaking and things that relate to just being able to communicate and have a discussion. So we have tutoring for all of that. And most of those courses that we noticed the trend for tutoring for is accounting, quantitative methods, and then there's a class in the finance program called financial management, and it is a beast mode of a class that students struggle with. And so those three, and then for the IT program, the programming class is probably the one that's the most difficult to kind of maneuver their ways through, because once they get there, they're looking at Python and looking at C# and Java, and trying to understand how all of those work in terms of what you're doing for cybersecurity and things that relate to project management. It becomes a little bit of a challenge. So that's what we try to do to help students have success and have a successful path path as they're going through the program. We keep a lot of our students, so we have a solid retention rate. And so I feel really good about that. And that goes to show that the tutoring that we have and things that we have in place to help them out, including disability opportunities as well, really helps the students get through our programs.
Wow, good deal.
Yep. So that's simply what we try to do. It's just our way of just trying to make sure that we get them here, we keep them here, and we help them graduate. So,
do you guys have any questions?
No, none here.
Okay, well.
okay. Thank you very much, Rosanna. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, and that's how I have that conversation with people, and that's what I typically do. And then if you have any questions at all, my information, I can actually send you the presentation. It's something I just put together for students, and if they want to share it and have those tools available, I'm glad to do so, because it's just my way of just trying to help people figure out, if I can get enough of this out there, I feel that maybe we can build some momentum on just creating self-awareness.
Good deal. Yeah, thanks. I would appreciate receiving those slides.
I definitely will. I'll send them over to you. Definitely.
I'll put them out there for everyone.
Yep. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to give me a call. I'll be glad to. And we can, if they want to go even deeper with the SWOT analysis, actually, if you want to go deeper with it, what you do is you increase the amount of numbers that you come up with for each item. So you go from just having 5 to going to maybe 10, maybe 15 per slide. And you really, really think about what it is to have those threats, what it is to have those opportunities, but also what it means to have those, you're asking yourself some really hard questions, and what it means to think about, who you are as a professional and what you're being hired to do, regardless of what it is that you're looking to do.
Wow, that's really excellent, Scott. I really appreciate
Thank you.
Your time, and presentation was excellent.
Thank you very much. It was great to talk with everyone. I'm glad this is a rarity. Normally you always have like the name, but at least you can see everybody's faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time it's like just John Smith, and there's nothing else. Like, oh, put a face up there and let me relate to it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Scott. Thank you guys for joining us, and everybody have a great day.
Okay, thank you very much.
You too.
Thanks, Miss Toni.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Scott.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
Talk
so
to you later.
much.
All right, see you.
Bye, you guys. Thanks again, Scott. Well, that's all we have for today on College and Career Pathways. Again, we were with Walsh College. They have a business school designed specifically for your junior and your sophomore years. Thanks for tuning in. I know this information will help you, and have a great day, everybody.
Did you have something else? You look like you were about to say something else, Toni.
No, I was just saying thanks again for your time, and I'll stay in touch with you.
Okay, good. I look forward to that. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Because you were just about to make, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just came out. Let me go back in real quick. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, awesome. Okay, great. Thank you.
Bye now. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Talk to you later.